Today we are talking about whether your education offer is failing. And you can answer that for yourself. See, this live always goes live before I want it to, but it's all good. We can set it up impromptu. I want to start in 5 minutes, but we're going to start now. It's all good. Okay, so is your education offer failing? Let's talk about the symptoms. You have an education consulting business. You are someone that is in education. You're probably previously a teacher, or you're in some accelerated profession like finance, like engineering, like healthcare. You have a love for academia. You have a love for knowledge and an understanding. But when it comes to running your own business, you're finding it difficult, mostly due to the fact that you don't know how to use education and understanding in a way that relates to your ideal clients. You may not even know who your ideal clients are, right? Let me know if that's true for you. You can leave a comment down below if you're going to be watching the replay. But I have a process that you can go through to actually identify the steps that you need to take to sell more of your education offers. I'm Tiffany Garside. I'm an international marketing strategist of 9 years as a digital nomad, right now living in Mauritius. But I run a few businesses. I run Tiffy G Writes, a marketing agency, and I'm the co-founder of Black Educators Amplified, which helps educators like you to expand their enterprise and book more clients. Now, we are at a pivotal time of the year. It is February 12th, and this is always the time of year. I know personally from my own experience. Back in 2019, I was already running my business. I had my clients. I worked with a few clients in real estate and finance, but they would use like technology real estate, blockchain real estate. It sounds really complex. We're not going to get into those details. But it was around this time that I was working with them, and I was like, hey, I think we're ready to go ahead and travel to Africa, move to Africa. But before we did that, we took one incremental step that changed everything. We invested in our enterprise. Technically, we could have been like, oh no, I just want to have this money in the savings and not invest. It's safer to save. This is one of the money mindset blocks that a lot of people have. A lot of people don't grow up around wealth, don't grow up with money and resources around them. And so when you get it, you're like hoarding it. You're like, oh my gosh, it's going to slip away. And that's not true. Investing is the best thing that you can do for your trajectory. Whether it's you buying stocks, you investing in your personal development, you investing in your business, you hiring a new teammate, so you can get out of this area of, oh my gosh, there's so much lack, and accept the reality that there isn't lack except in your mind. And so the reality that you get to live in is the reality that you paint in your mind. Even the Proverbs of the Bible talk about that. As a man thinks, so is he, right? As a human thinks, that is how they're going to perform. And so in your education consulting business, in your career, even if you've been on the corporate ladder, I've been there as well. And I know what it's like to have those microaggressions, especially in finance. I used to work at Chase Bank for a couple of months, and that was all I could take of it, because after that I wanted to start my own business. Okay, I was a fraud analyst, and you would just always have like the upper management breathing down your throat. I know you can relate to this right now, and it just feels like, oh my gosh, when am I going to actually have free time? When am I going to actually get to act on this business strategy that I've created, that you put on the back bucket or the back burner because you're like, well, I have my 9 to 5, so I guess I'm comfortable. I don't really have to work on my business. And that's a decision you have to make for yourself, you know? You have to make the decision, hey, do I want to continue working on this 9 to 5, working in this 9 to 5 until I retire and hope that they give me my full retirement? Because most times they don't. They usually take about 40% of your retirement. Or am I going to take my future into my own hands and get serious about my business and do the hard thing? See, we will be so adamant about going to college, getting a master's, getting a PhD, learning more, going back, getting new degrees. But when it comes to us using that same diligence for our own business, writing out our own strategies to use in our business, we back up and we're like, oh, I don't want to do that. It's too uncomfortable. It's not the right thing to do. It's not the comfortable thing to do. And of course it's not comfortable. Imagine somebody that wants to build a house. Obviously laying the foundation, laying those bricks down isn't the most comfortable thing, but nonetheless, the foundation needs to be established to have a house that is going to be able to stand on its own and sustain itself come wind, come turmoil, come rain, all of those things, flooding, right? So you need to set the bricks for your own business foundation as an education consultant. I'm so excited to get into the meat of this content because I know you've never experienced this before. This is almost like a workshop style session, and I'm just honored to be able to share this with you. I share this in corporate marketing. I share this with Black Educators Amplified in our 8-week program that is now closed for enrollment. I will let you know once it opens up again. But this is such a pivotal mindset shift that you can use to acquire more clientele. But the issue that you're facing right now with not having the clientele that you want is that people don't know you. They may or may not like you, and they definitely don't trust you. Now, what are the symptoms of this? This means you have your LLC, you go to networking events and you shake hands and you're like, hey, I have X, Y, and Z process to help fourth graders learn better reading outcomes. And people shake your hand and they're like, oh, that's fantastic. That's great. We should talk about it sometime. And sometime never comes. Have you ever experienced that? You at a networking event and you're trying to network with people and they're like, someday I'll reach out to you, someday we'll work together, and someday never comes, okay? And it's not because you have a horrible offer, but there's a lack of trust somewhere, especially if this person was trying to visit your website, can't find it, or they look on your homepage and they read it and they still don't know what you're about. They still don't know what your business is about. And so they're like, I don't know. I mean, it sounded good in the moment, but when I look back at the website, or maybe you don't even have a website, which is a little bit worse than not having one at all, right? And so this is why it's so important that we teach communication strategy in business. When we talk about the Black wealth gap, I was just seeing a few statistics this year that the Black wealth gap, it's as if our people in America specifically are living in 1970, because that is the wealth that we have, meaning we are 50 years behind other demographics. Why is that? I believe a huge part of it is due to our lack of business knowledge, okay? We will get in business and then go out of business 2, 3, 4 years later, right? It happens. When's the last time you heard of a small Black business owner stay in business for a long time? There are a few of us out there that do, but it's not like the main majority. And so I'm on a mission to fix 10,000 Black businesses before 2029. Literally, I want to fix 10,000 Black businesses, because every business has operational efficiencies and audits that we have to go through, and we're not exempt from that. But when we cower away from these things and we cower away from actually looking at our messaging, seeing our operations, saying, hey, what do I actually know about marketing? What do I know about sales? Am I willing to empathize with my ideal clients? Am I willing to show up on live or to show up in ways that I'm not comfortable with to help my people progress? Because that's literally what business is all about. You're helping a specific demographic progress into the area that they need to be in, right? And so let's actually get into this buyer belief arc that I'm going to teach you today. Here it is right here. This is the buyer belief arc, okay? So the first circle represents the short-term beliefs. Most entrepreneurs focus on the short term. Most people don't focus on the long-term beliefs. Most people focus on the fact that maybe their audience doesn't know who they are, doesn't know if it's a good time to buy, and they don't know how easy your offer is to use. And so you will always distribute content that's like, hey, I have this product. Hey, I had such a great time. Hey, look at this product I have. Look at this workshop. Look at this ebook I put together, without actually telling a vivid, beautiful story that your audience can relate to. Because again, we have to have that know, like, and trust factor. Relatability fits into how somebody knows you and begins to like you, okay? And so we need to shift these beliefs from they don't know if your offer is good enough, they don't know if it's a good time to buy, they don't know if it's easy to use because you have not articulated your value in a more sophisticated way. Instead, we want to shift their beliefs from these short-term beliefs into, I trust them with my main problem. This does fit my timeline, and it's worth the money and the energy to actually go through the process, okay? This is the first buyer belief arc, the short term. Most entrepreneurs focus on that up there, okay? We were just talking about these questions. This is what most people focus on. But beyond this, your content strategy also needs to include the longer beliefs, the long-term beliefs, meaning we're creating this content for clients based on a long-term assumption that eventually they're going to sign up to work for us. Meaning we're not sending out emails, we're not writing website copy for a quick buck right now, because your business savings account, your business investing, whatever cushion you have in your business needs to be for now. But you also have to have in your content strategy a method of sowing seeds, if you will, okay? A method of, hey, this seed is going to sprout up maybe in the next 3 to 6 months, maybe in the next 2 years. Either way, if you want to be in business long term, eventually that seed is going to grow, okay? And you also have to make the decision before you even can get into content like this. Do I want to be in business for the next 10 years? Do I want to have a legacy that I can pass down to my children? Because those two businesses look very different. A business that is just in it for a quick buck right now is willing to forsake website copy messaging, is willing to forsake really understanding strategic communications and advanced marketing. They're willing to forsake actually learning the skill of being able to sell their offers, being able to sign corporate contracts, because they just want a quick buck right now. Versus the identity of a business owner that's like, yes, I'm starting this business, but this business isn't just for me. This is something that I'm going to pass down to my children's children. When you operate out of that identity, you get a completely different mindset and trajectory in business. Then you're willing to say, okay, let me understand how to write website messaging so that when I go to hire somebody to do my messaging, when I hire somebody to do my website, or when I'm even talking about my marketing, I need to know what I'm talking about, right? That's the difference. Okay, as well as email marketing. A lot of entrepreneurs do not know about email marketing. Again, the identity shift between, hey, I want a quick buck, I just want to pop up and sell a few products at a pop-up shop, versus, hey, whether you have a product, a service, or a program, you understand that you have a trademarked process that you want to take clients through, or you're going through the process of getting a process trademarked. And when I say process, I mean something. For example, we have a process in both Tiffy G Writes and Black Educators Amplified called the 3-on-3 framework, where we pinpoint the 3 emotions your audience feels before working with you and the 3 emotions they feel after. And you may say, well, how would you know? Well, you look at the client data and analytics, you look at your sales calls and all of these conversations you've had with your clients. You should be taking notes, or have a virtual executive assistant taking these notes for you. Take those notes, and then you are going to write in the way that your audience speaks, so that when they come across your brand, they feel like, oh, this person resonates with me. They really know me. They did the due diligence. They did the research. They have empathy. They care. They're very intentional. Because how many times have you gone to a mom and pop shop and you can feel the intentionality in the room? And although maybe their t-shirts or their cupcakes are a little bit more expensive than the cupcakes that you could get at Kroger's or Winn-Dixie's, right? Or just some little grocery store, you're willing to spend the extra dollar because this is a small business that's intentional. That's the kind of environment that you want your clients to see when they come across your brand, okay? And so the core belief areas for the longer beliefs are, does this person recognize they have a problem? Does your audience recognize that they have the education problem that they have? Whether it's 4th grade reading, 7th grade science, if you're creating some type of engineering course, if you're creating a plumbing course for plumbers who need to come in and accelerate their own expertise and book more plumbing clients, whatever your program is, does this person recognize the problem? And for you to even answer that question, that means you would have to have notations of what that problem looks like, not for you, but for your ideal client, okay? This is what we call branding guides and corporate communications, product marketing. Now, number 2, Do they know of any solutions? So your person that's ready to buy from you or your competition, they are already looking for solutions. They want to know which solution is going to be best for me. And so if you have this in mind when you're writing your website copy, or when you have a copywriter, a messaging strategic communication strategist come in, they need to hit a point in the website where it's like, hey, I know that you're looking at X, Y, and Z options as an alternative, but here's why our process could be the best for you, and you lay that out. But you can only lay this out when you have that foundational work down and you've gone through the process of creating your own strategic communications guide that includes all of these product marketing aspects. Now, the next point, do they know the topic, or what is their readiness around the topic? Okay, you may have heard this, especially if you're a teacher. What is your students' readiness to learn a specific subject? We also have this in corporate contracting. What is your customer's readiness to be available and ready to invest in your solution? Readiness, you need to gauge how ready this person is. Now you may say, okay, how do I do that, Tiffany? Well, this goes back to market research again. You need to be having conversations with your prospect clients. You need to look at the data from your email list. Look at the people you've had conversations with, and maybe you didn't book those clients on a sales call. Or maybe you've had people coming to you and saying, hey, I want to work with you, and then they never return, right? How can you attract and get yourself to retain more of those clients? And it's going to be through gauging the readiness of the topic that your client does understand or doesn't understand. In marketing, when I have our questionnaire, it's like maybe about 5 to 7 questions. I've had it in place for years. I do not allow anyone to come into our business without answering these questions. Why? Because it tells us the readiness that the client is at, or the prospect client is at. For example, someone that is new in business and just started their business 2 months ago is typically not ready for an elevated program like this versus someone who has been in business for 4 to 5 years, maybe even 6 years, but has come into a struggle because they're like, okay, I'm serving clients, I have my operational efficiency down, but I'm not really sure how to continue my marketing strategy. I'm not sure how to juggle posting online. I'm not sure if I want to post online, but you have this resistance, this cognitive dissonance where you're like, well, I know I have to show up, but I just don't know how. I need somebody to lay out the roadmap because I don't have the energy or capacity to do everything myself in my business. That's an example of how to gauge readiness in your audience, okay? And then lastly, does the person know you? So after they found the solution, because again, clients, prospect clients, humans in general, always think about themselves. And so at first, when they come across your brand, they're like, okay, how can I fit into this? Is this really what I'm looking for? They move from that no to that like. Now they start to like your brand, and they're starting to trust your brand a bit before making the sell. But they actually, right before that step, they want to know who you are. They want to know who they're working with. Hence, showing up in a capacity like this, going live, right? Hence, starting a podcast. This is why podcasts are so huge at this day and age. It's not just because it's trending. It's because the type of content that's put out on a podcast, where somebody's speaking to you for 15 minutes to an hour, sometimes even longer, you get to learn their personality. You get to know if you feel comfortable with their teaching style. You get to understand if you want to work with that person. Whether it's a product-based business or a service-based business, you get to gauge and say, okay, do I want to work with this entrepreneur? And you have to be brave enough and courageous enough to put yourself out there even as a beginner, so you can sign the clients that you want to sign, so you can have the business ownership that you want to have, or else you will be stuck climbing the corporate ladder with somebody breathing down your neck day in and day out. You're worried about your blood pressure. You're worried about your work-life balance with your children. You're worried about, hey, will I ever get to experience travel? Will I ever get to take a vacation without, typing on the computer, hey, can I put in these PTO hours, right? That's not a life that you want to continue living. I've been in that space before, right? I remember being in that space, having to clock in and look at the little computer and say, okay, how many hours of PTO do I have that I can use for myself? In entrepreneurship, you don't have to do that because you own your free time, right? A lot of entrepreneurs have this false notion, well, actually, you have to work 60 hours a week, and it's completely not true. Wise entrepreneurs use leverage, and they actually hire people to do the work for them. Okay, wise entrepreneurs are not doing all of the work all the time. This is why we retain experts in our business for community management, for Instagram management, so that we can work in our areas of expertise better and further propel our businesses forward. Because if we were to do every single thing by ourselves, we would literally get nowhere. Okay, and so entrepreneur is a team sport. Being a CEO is a team sport, meaning you have to have your marketing team available. And of course, you don't have, 500K in capital to hire your marketing team. So you need to ask, with the capacity that I have, what can I cut back on so that I can afford hiring a marketing consultant? What can I do to just have maybe one marketing consultant on my team? I don't need 10 marketing consultants, although corporations have them, hence the word boardroom marketing meeting or corporate marketing meeting. There are these boardrooms where you will have 10 different marketing consultants, and people are like, why is that necessary? It's necessary because the level of communications that they're putting out, okay? And inside marketing, you have all of these different aspects. Honestly, you have website messaging, SEO, you have blogging, you have social media, you have YouTube, you have podcasting. You have product marketing, which focuses more so on the benefits of said product. Then you have user experience. So there are a lot of levels, but you need to ask yourself, as a small business owner, as a new entrepreneur, how can I scale back and afford bringing an expert into my firm so that I can propel myself forward and leave a beautiful legacy for my children that is not just debt passed down? Because debt passed down isn't a legacy. You still pass something down, but it's not good to pass down debt to our children, right? We want to start to pass down businesses to our children's children, not just businesses that have LLC on the name, but businesses that have operational standards, standard operating procedures, marketing operations procedures, so that you can pass this down to your children. They look in the business and they know exactly how to take it further with the time that they're in, okay? This is very important. So hopefully you found a lot of value from this live session. We went over the two main areas of the buyer belief arc. You can take those 2 steps. Those are the 2. The last step is going to be for you to get pen to paper like I have right here. You see I wrote that down. That wasn't ChatGPT writing it down. The last step is for you to actually take inventory of your business with pen to paper, okay? Audit your website. Audit your marketing operations. Do you have marketing operations? Do you have social media? Do you have podcasts? Do you have a PR strategy where you're reaching out to certain businesses and showing up on certain podcasts to get more visibility to your brand, right? Because visibility comes before marketing, because you have to actually have an audience in order to educate and speak to people. Without an audience, there's no one to speak to. Okay, so I want you to audit your business, audit your website, audit your social media. And if you need assistance with that, I have a free 6-day email course below. Okay, you can join over 3,000 people who also have it and have used it to further their business along. It's down at the link in the description. Check it out. And I have 2 slots available for the first phase of magnetic emails. You can check out the link in the description to see if it's right for you. And until the next time, I will talk to you soon.